Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. If you like my video, please like and subscribe. Also check me out on Twitch as Floyd Mason.
Welcome back, Spooks fans. We are back, and it is another Goosebumps book review. And we are on to book number 25, Attack of the Mutant. Yeah, I mean, get the reflection here a bit, but pretty decent cover. He definitely nailed, the building is exactly how they described in the book, with the pink and the green top. Mutant looks pretty deadly. The orange, I think, is a fairly unique color. I don't remember a lot that have it. He tends to go a lot more like blues and greens, I feel. So, yeah. It's the only cover of the book I have. Surprisingly, I don't have another one. Which is kind of weird because I feel like this book was probably made enough. Unless I do. And I just, for whatever reason, didn't have it written down. But I do, interestingly enough, have the audiobook. Still mostly sealed. Kind of open at the back here, but if you want to listen to it on cassette, here you go. I think they only put out like 6 on cassette. I'm pretty sure I have them all. But, weirdly enough, they put a lot of, I think, weaker stories on, which is odd. So maybe they thought they would do better, but yeah, just an oddity that I have, the audiobook for it. But yeah, let's get talking about the book. We'll get to the cover at the end, as usual. So this book is mostly about a character named Skipper. I think it reveals, I'm trying to remember his name offhand. I think his real name is Bradley. He reveals it at some point. It's something like that. Something like Bradley. But he goes by Skipper. Never really says why. He's like Skipper. But it opens with him and his friend Wilson. And he's showing his comic book collection to his buddy and explaining kind of the value to them and why he collects. So it's just kind of painting him as this collector. He doesn't read the comics because they lessen the value. So he doesn't read them and he just collects them. Well, his friend Wilson doesn't get it. He collects stamps, which is all he talks about in the book, which we'll get into. Like, Wilson does actually add a bit of value to the story, but almost every part of him is just talking about a stamp collection, which I find very funny. And he always wants Skipper to come over and look at them, but yeah, he just collects stamps. In it too, like they also mention, Stein mentions Captain America and also Spawn, which is pretty cool. Like, Spawn definitely would have been probably too violent for kids at the age reading this book back then, so it's kind of a cool call out. Spawn is a pretty violent character, but Captain America, pretty big. But he's done it before. He's called out things like Nintendo and stuff, which it just feels like very of the time, which is very cool. So he's there. Wilson leaves. He has a package he isn't supposed to open until after his homework, but he can't resist, as the new Masked Mutant number 24. And Masked Mutant is the only series that he actually reads. It's his favorite, so he opens it. It's the only one that he actually will interact with, which I don't know why he doesn't get 2 then. Save one, read one, but either way, he reads it. So Masked Mutant can change his molecules and turn to anything, which is kind of his power, and he's up against the League of Good Guys, and in this episode, it's got him as a big octopus fighting a character named Sponge Life. As he's reading it, his little sister Mitzi sneaks up with him and puts her cold hands on his back. And he says they feel like tentacles. So it's going to be that he feels like he's getting attacked by the squid in the book. And he asked her why her hands are so cold. She says she put them in the fridge, which is just such a funny line. Like, it definitely was Stein kind of having something to make them feel more like tentacles. And so he just threw that in, that they had to be cold, and therefore she had to put them in the fridge, which is just so weird. She warns him, that he shouldn't be reading because the dad will get mad. And right then, Dad comes in and he is super mad. So he's basically told Skipper that he can't read any of his comics until he's done his homework. And he picks up and threatens to throw out all his comics, which is a big cliffhanger. And Skipper's just like, whatever. He swears to it all the time. He doesn't panic. He promises to do his homework, and Dad gives him back to him. Dad goes downstairs and he immediately starts reading the comic again. I don't know how he's caught always reading the comics, because it seemed to imply that he only ever read the Masked Mutant ones. So unless he's just reading, and it's only on number 24, so unless he's just reading the same comic over and over and over, he definitely reads other comics, or he's just messing with them all the time. He gets nervous as Mitzi is still around, though, so he doesn't want to get in trouble from his dad again. So he does his homework. He does a poor job at it. He doesn't even answer all the questions. He just kind of gets it done so he can go back to the comic. And then the comic, they show his lair for the first time. Very unique building, pink and green. So again, they describe well, but it's the pink and green here. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely pretty unique, and it plays an important part of the story. So it's cool that they kind of gave it life on the cover of the book. So he goes back to it, and yeah, pretty cool. Sees the building for the first time. It also shows the Galloping Gazelle is in the headquarters. He is the leader of the good guys, and the comic ends there. So it just kind of shows him going, and that they finally found the lair, because they'd never known, apparently, where the lair of the masked mutant was before. So it goes ahead a few days later, and Wilson, again, invites Skipper to look at stamps, but Skipper has to go to the dentist. So again, they kind of they do use him for better parts, but it's usually just to kind of set up the plot of where they're going next. You know, because it was just like, oh, like he had to go to the dentist, whatever. But they're like, oh, like he has to tell Wilson, and then he does the thing. So it's kind of just Wilson's kind of a plot point, but he does add a bit later. So when he's going to the dentist, he runs into a girl named Libby on the bus. I think this is where he reveals his name, Bradley, because he tells her what his name is. But she asks where he's going, and he doesn't want to say the dentist, so he says the comic shop, because there is a comic shop near the dentist that he often will go to when he has to go to the dentist. And she says she likes them too, so he gets excited, and then she reads something, I forget the name of it, but it's kind of a play on Archie and Jughead. So he tells her that her comics are for babies, and they just kind of argue a bit, and because of this, he misses a stop, jumps off the bus, and he sees a building exactly like the one in the book. Libby had got off as well. This is apparently her stop, and he asks her about it, and she's like, oh yeah, the building's been here since we moved in. But it's like exactly like again, he just saw a picture in the comic. It's exactly the same. So he's super confused. He doesn't know what's going on. He thinks about going in, but he sees a bus coming the other way, and he's like, if I get on that bus, I'll only be a few minutes late to the dentist, and so he goes back. He tells Wilson about it, and Wilson suggests that maybe the artist happened to see it, and it was so unique that he had to draw it, and that's why it exists. And this is a great part of including Wilson. Like, this is a very reasonable explanation. You know, the building is super unique, and, you know, very odd that a artist would happen to be driving to the town and see it, but, you know, not impossible. So he kind of goes, oh yeah, that can make some sense. Yeah, maybe that's right. He goes back to see it a few days later, though, because he still can't stop thinking about it, and it's gone. The building is completely gone. There's no rubble or anything. It just isn't there anymore. Libby again shows up, asks him what he's doing there, and he's like, oh, I came back to see the building. Where'd it go? And she's like, I don't know. And I didn't see it get destroyed. I don't know what's going on. He's so confused that she invites him over, and he accepts. He goes over there for a bit, and she's just showing him the comic that he doesn't like. But when he gets home, there is a new comic, which I guess would be number 25. When he's reading the comic, in it, the masked mutant talks about how he's put an invisibility cloak over his lair. And so this is just blowing Skipper's mind. He's like, no way. Like, I saw it, and then now there's an invisibility cloak. So it, it must be there. He goes there again, and Libby is again there. Like, she's just hanging out by the bus stop all the time, apparently. But she thinks he's crazy, and she's making fun of him, and they walk through it, and all of a sudden, boom, building's there. Appears out of nowhere, and it seems like there was just this invisibility cloak over it. So she's a little like, no, maybe we shouldn't mess with this. But Skipper wants to go inside. So he looks in, it looks like an office-type building, but nobody is inside. So they go in, a light shines over Skipper, and it feels all tingly. And then it just all of a sudden disappears. He asks Libby about it. She didn't notice it. She has no idea what he's talking about. So he just kind of like, something, who knows? So they get into an elevator, and Skipper wants to go up. Libby's pretty against it. She's like, I don't think we should be messing around. but Skipper's pretty insistent, and they get in, and the elevator starts going down. So you get down to the basement, they keep hitting the up button, nothing's working. So they kind of step out of it for a second to see what's going on, and the door quickly closes, and it's gone. There's no other elevators. They start looking for a button to get up, but nothing. While they're looking around, Skipper turns and Libby's gone. So he starts looking for her. He's going through various rooms, and he eventually finds a printing press. And then he starts to think, oh, maybe this is actually, where they make the comic. Like, that would make sense. Like, and I mean, at this point, he's completely putting the invisibility cloak out of his mind, but he's just kind of, oh, maybe they print the comic, and that's why, and, and stuff. And he's kind of looking through, there's like printings and drawings in this room, and he's kind of looking through it, and it's like really cool drawings of the characters. And then he sees pages with him in them. So somehow he is now in the comic. So he goes to read the room, and Libby shows up, and she's mad at him. He tries to show the pictures. She doesn't want to hear it. She's upset because she feels that he ran off on her. She's found a way up. So they take the elevator. They go out, and she kind of storms off. So she's angry at him. Again, a couple days later, he's talking to Wilson again. Wilson just serving as that in between visits to the lair kind of character. And then again, Wilson's there to show him some stamps. And the new comic, he leaves as the new comic gets there. And he is in the comic. So it shows him kind of sneaking around the building. I think the Gazelle says something like, oh, only the kid can save us now, or something like that. He tries to show his parents, but they're just not paying attention. His dad's cutting onions, and has like tears in his eyes. Mom's cooking, like just not paying attention. I mean, I would have pushed a little harder. I would have been like, no, like you are looking at this comic. This is so weird. But he kind of just lets it go. And he's convinced at this point he's the only one that can save the Gazelle. So again, he's going to go back, and he runs into Wilson. And it's the last time he runs into Wilson, and Wilson's parting note is that he's given up collecting stamps because it takes up too much of his time. I love Wilson as a character. It's just, him and the stamps are so funny. They're never really, I think he shows them to him once, and it's just like, here's a dog, and here's a star. Like, they're just nothing. He asks him how much they're worth, and he's like, nothing. And then just that he gives them up. So again, he just kind of pushes the plot along at some points. It feels better than, again, Stein has a tendency to throw in characters that talk about nothing. I'm trying to remember, like, especially, I feel like it was in like the piano, whatever that one was called, the one where they cut off the hands. But there's a character in that I feel like he just talks to a couple times, and like they add nothing to the story, and it's just to pad it out. Wilson actually felt kind of like he was moving the story along, and the suggestion of like maybe the artist seeing it gives him a little more than just filler. So I'll miss Wilson. He does say at this point, he's like, I wondered if I ever see Wilson again, because he's going back to the lair to try and save the Gazelle, who he is convinced is there. So he gets back, and for once, Libby isn't around, so he goes by himself. Again, he pushes through the invisibility cloak, and he enters the building. There's nobody there, but he starts to hear just a manic laugh. He looks around, he sees a speaker, and he convinces himself it must be coming from there, or that he's hearing things. But he goes to the elevator and goes up. When he finally gets to the top, he's kind of looking around, he hears a noise, he goes searching for it, and he opens the room, and he finds the galloping Gazelle tied up, and it's real. He's just blown away. The Gazelle's like, hey kid, get over here and help me. And the Gazelle actually has superhero powers. So they're going around, and the Gazelle's like, oh, keep up with me, and he just books it. Like, he's the fastest thing alive. And so he has to slow way down so Skipper can come with him. Gazelle wants to go find kind of the main office of the mutant and figure what's going on there. As they're going there, there's a part with some steps, and the Gazelle noticed that there's a disintegrator array. So they go, you have to jump 3 steps, and Gazelle just clears it, like books it and clears it. Skipper goes to run, and he lands on the first step, and it's again one of those cliffhanger endings, and it's not on. The ray is not turned on. Gazelle's like, you got lucky there, kid. It's just such a it's so funny when he runs, and just like, I can't remember, there must be an episode for this one, I can't remember it, but having a kid actor have to run and like jump on the first step, trying to jump 3 must must look so funny. It's such a bad jump. Like, I think it would have been funnier if he almost made it. Only having him do one is so weird. But yeah, so he's lucky. They get off. They go in and they find his office. Gazelle's looking around for stuff. He's bragging about speed, and all of a sudden, the desk starts to morph, and it morphs into the masked mutant. So he's been here all along. Again, the masked mutant's skill is that he can change his molecules into anything. So he was hiding in there as a desk. The Gazelle starts running around him to create a tornado, and like things are getting pulled off the wall, and Skipper's just like, yes, like we're gonna beat the mutant. And the mutant just sticks out his leg and trips him, and the Gazelle goes crashing into a wall and is knocked out for a second. Mutant turns into a leopard, obviously, predator for the Gazelle. And the Gazelle just goes, I'm out of here, you're on your own, kid, and books it. So pretty cowardly, pretty useless skill as well, if a simple trip just knocks you out. And he's the leader of the good guys. No wonder they're not winning. So now Skipper's left here alone. The masked mutant asks him what his power is, and he says he doesn't have one. And basically the masked mutant is like, oh, I want to know what it is so I can destroy you quickly. I don't want you to like suffer, kind of deal. I think at this point he throws like a rock at him or something and misses some stupid little part. But the masked mutant then grabs him and like lifts him up super high and is going to drop him. When all of a sudden the door opens and it's Libby, and she's come in. So she basically ignores the masked mutant initially, and she just starts talking to him, and she's mad at him. She said that she saw him, and she was yelling at him, and he didn't hear her, and so she was trying to catch up. Feels like there's a long break of time between him, when she would have seen him and when she shows up, because like he rescued the Gazelle, and then they went here, and the Gazelle did his whole tornado thing, but maybe she got up to the top floor and couldn't find him. So she's there. The mutant kind of like threatens her a bit. And then she points a plastic gun at him and says it's a molecule melter. Skipper's kind of like, oh, like, don't fool around. Like, this is real. This is going on. And it's just a little plastic gun. And she shoots him, and he melts. And so for some reason, Libby has this powerful gun. And he's like, oh, we can get out of here. And then Libby goes, no, we ain't leaving. And she morphs into the masked mutant. So it was a ruse. She had been the masked mutant the whole time, kind of leading him on to come to the building. She lets him know that the guy that she shot was the Magnificent Molecule Man, who would sometimes like help him out with deeds, and she just killed him. Seems weird because, again, it seems like his power is the exact same as the masked mutants, that he can just transform into everything and change his molecules. So that part's sorry about that. For some reason, it died, but we'll just pick it up from here. So, anyways, basically says that the Magnificent Molecule Man was posing as him. Very weird to have two villains with the exact same power. We're the only two villains in the book, but whatever. Tells him that he's always looking for new foes, and picks Skipper particularly because he recognized the building and showed that he was a big fan. Seems a little weird because like Skipper doesn't have any powers. Like, he's just a kid that likes comics, so you think he can find better foes. I mean, can't even kill the Gazelle, but whatever. Also explained to him that the light that he felt when he came into the building turned him into a comic. So he is not a human anymore. He is now a part of the comic, which is probably why he saw a picture of himself and then he was in the comic. He's not actually in the real world anymore. I don't fully understand what's going on here, but apparently he's part of the comic. So at this point is when Skipper then claims he's the colossal elastic boy. So again, kind of at this point wondering like, okay, like, is he just starting to realize he's a comic and like now he is a character and has powers, or what's he trying to do here? And he basically claims he can't be destroyed. Like, Mutant's like, oh, I'll tear you up, and he's like, you can't, or like, I'll throw you this and I'll just bounce, and he's like, haha, all these ways, like the only way I can be defeated is by sulfuric acid. The masked mutant laughs out, and he realizes his mistake of telling him. So the masked mutant turns into a giant wave of acid, and Skipper just steps aside, and he's won. So apparently, a flaw of the masked mutant is that he cannot rearrange his molecules back from from liquid. So he tricked him into becoming a liquid, which killed him. It's never mentioned before in the book, so it's kind of a little spoilery end of, again, what could happen. But that's it. So he goes home. Last chapter is playing with Mitzi. He's happy to be home and alive. And he cuts open his hand by accident when they're playing. And he goes inside to kind of look after it. And he realizes he's bleeding ink. And so he realizes the Masked Mutant is telling him the truth. And he is in a comic. So he yells for Mitzi to quickly grab the new comic that came because he doesn't believe his story is over. And that's the book. So with this book, this is one of the books I remember the most reading as a kid. It was definitely one of my favorites back in the day. Read several times. Not really going to beat around the bush with this one too much. This book is an S. I still think it's one of the best books. It definitely has its flaws. It's a little too convenient every time he goes that Libby's there. Again, obviously she's there because she's the Masked Mutant and she's not a kid and she's watching him. But it's weird that she also has a house and does have the magazines and stuff. That's a little weird. I think he implies that he created her just for it. It would have made more sense if Libby was a real girl and then just when he became the comic, then she kind of disappears and then he just kind of takes over her personality. So I kind of choose to believe it's more that because it's kind of weird if she has a house otherwise. Also, just the ending's a little soft with the sulfuric acid. It's definitely not bad, and it's a clever trick. But it would have been nice. I don't think it foreshadows it anywhere. Maybe it does. And I'm just not remembering it, or didn't catch it. But it feels like it's one of those things that, most stories with that kind of ending, it's kind of like the first Mummy one. Where all of a sudden the mummies just come alive and you kind of have this get out of your plot point right at the end kind of trick. But the rest of the story is just so good. It's so unique. It's such a cool idea of kind of the comic being real and whatnot. That I'm not going to ding it for it. Maybe when I do my full listing, it might drop below a couple ones that just have a better overall flow and kind of keep the plot points going. But yeah, it's still a good book. I love Wilson. Like I said, I think his inclusion in it, the stamps, is very funny to me. The rest of the family is not in it that much, but very realistic. Kind of a bratty sister who rats about a little, but then they can still have fun. Dad who's very about the studying, but still a pushover and lets the kid have his comics still. So overall, a pretty good one. Yeah, just a very unique story. I like the build of it. I like the reveal that the Masked Mutant's there, and then it's not really the Masked Mutant, even though it is kind of a cop out of just a secondary scare because it's a character of the same thing. Like it was. I remember as a kid being very surprised that Libby was it. I think when I read as a kid, I thought that Libby was going to be a superhero. So when it turned out that she was the super villain, it was a surprise, which is what you want. So looking at the cover here, yeah, it's fantastic. The orange really works with it. The mutant looks so cool. The building is unique and matches. It's you see this picture first, so you're already thinking it before you read it, but it just adds such a, when you're reading this book, it adds such a, you could see the building and him going up to the building and him going in the building, that it just really works. So this cover is also an S. So a double S book. It's 2 in a row because it's been a while. It's been a while since I did one of these videos. Finally done the Reno here, so hopefully I can get back to them more. I'm already reading the next one, My Harry's Adventure. But 2 back-to-back bangers. Both really good books, both very good for different reasons. Phantom, The Auditorium obviously is a take on a much more known story. Well, this one is very unique as far as I know. I don't really know another one like it. Yeah, so that's really going to be it. Yeah, just a great great read overall. Definitely one I recommend. And we will be back next time when we get to My Harry's Adventure. So I will see you all later.
Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. If you like my video, please like and subscribe, and also check me on Twitch as Floyd Mason.